Hello everyone, I'm back again for one last video. I think I might do maybe a two-parter in this video or something, but I'm not really sure. But I really want to say a lot about what I actually kind of saw and my little thoughts on this year's reactions for this year's E3 for 2013. And what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to kind of talk about Microsoft first, and then Nintendo, then Sony as the last kind of topic I'm actually going to talk about in regards to how they did in E3, like my really honest thoughts and opinions, and what I thought they could have did, and so just to kind of just speak my mind about the in regards to all three of those gaming companies in general, about Nintendo and then Microsoft and then Sony. But I'm gonna start off with Microsoft first. So anyway, what I actually thought, my honest opinion about Microsoft is that I think they actually did pretty good in this year's E3, but honestly I think they actually could have did a little bit better. And just kind of thinking about Microsoft's performance of the E3, even though I didn't really watch the conference because I actually missed out on it, but I actually watched the highlights and found out all the titles and everything that they did and what was announced basically, and all the new titles that was announced and all the new features and everything like that. Just for example, the Twitch, they actually partner with Twitch, and they actually can the newest ability that you can actually kind of pretty much stream, and you kind of can do your commentary like from Twitch and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But honestly, I think Xbox or Microsoft kind of killed themselves in regards to actually winning this console war and actually kind of winning E3. But before I actually continue saying more, I honestly I don't actually have a winner for E3, but I don't really care who wins E3, and I actually love gaming so much that I actually have respect for all three, just pretty much Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony all together. I don't actually have hatred towards any of the companies or anything like that, or I favor any particular system or anything like that. I actually like gaming so much that I don't actually have like a favorite system pretty much, but my personal favorite would actually be Nintendo, but I actually don't actually have. It's not that I dislike Microsoft or Sony as much as I do like that. I don't actually dislike any of those companies or anything, and I actually like all three consoles pretty much, like the Wii U, the Xbox One, and the PS4. But going back to Microsoft, I actually think that the Xbox One pretty much killed it for Microsoft and kind of let them down for pretty much, just to kind of honestly talk about it, is that those features, that how they didn't actually kind of address those features, and they could have actually address those issues about the system itself. And I think they kind of made just kind of cowardly, just kind of took a step back and just didn't kind of avoid all the questions from it, and just like the truth, and just speaking about what's really up with the system, what's really wrong with it, what's its flaws and everything like that. And I think that the major problem with Microsoft, and that which pretty much affected their performance, was pretty much like how they didn't address those issues, and that those main issues are pretty much key to the failure of Xbox One. I'm not going to say that it flopped. I'm not going to say that the Xbox One is a flop, but I think those issues could be like a major concern that's pretty much pulling consumers back from actually hesitating on actually trying to pre-order the system. And I think they're actually going to pre-order the PS4 over the Xbox One, and I think the PS4 is actually going to get more sales because of those specific issues with Xbox One, with not being able to play like used games and pretty much trade in those games that you pretty much own. And I think they actually are trying to, with those actual features and the newest little policies that they came up with, they pretty much took away all our rights of, as gamers, that we go to our local game store, you go to your local game store, wherever, you just get it off. Maybe you buy it off of Amazon, maybe you buy it off online, or maybe you go to your local GameStop to actually buy a game or something like that. And you pretty much are taking away those rights. And like, oh, I'm going to GameStop to actually, for example, I'm going to GameStop to actually go to buy an Xbox One game. I go to buy it, and I just think to myself, hey, I bought an Xbox One game. I pretty much own those rights to this game. Like, I own these rights as my game. This is my game. But when I think of Xbox and Microsoft's new policy, and just be like, this is pretty much, it's not really my game. It's pretty much Microsoft's game, pretty much, almost. And it's almost like they own those rights to the games, that every game that you purchase, and you only have those rights pretty much for a limited amount of time, is for as long as you keep it. And if you want to lend it to a friend, you can't do that. You can probably do that for somebody, but once you lend it to your friend, those rights belong to them. And I don't think that's really kind of a good policy. Like, I don't know whose idea that was to actually kind of make a policy like that, and that's kind of unfair. Like, you're taking away the gamers' rights to their own personal game that they spent their own money out of their own pocket, and they kind of work hard. They pretty much work hard for that money, and you're taking that right away from them, where they can't actually, like, what if I know people, it's a bad economy out there, and people don't have the kind of money, that type of money, to actually buy games, and let alone buy a system that's $500, a console that's $500 for all those systems and for all those features and stuff that's unique in my opinion. But yet it has a major flaw that if something happens to the Kinect, you can't play it. And maybe I think it's really true that if like say if it's a big strong storm coming in and it knocks out your power and stuff, and your power goes out for pretty much a day or two, and you're pretty much, you know for a fact that you're going to be out of power for like a day or two until your local power company like DTE comes to restore the power and stuff like that, until the power comes back on and everything. And you pretty much can't play your system once the power comes back on. I think the system's pretty much broken when you if a blackout occurs, because I think it'll really affect the system, and the system won't be able to function anymore, and you'll pretty much have to go out and buy another one. And it's also questionable that my little bit question about it is that what if like something happens to my Kinect? Will I actually have to buy another one? Like, do I have to buy a whole nother $500 system? Because that's pretty much $1,000 going down the drain pretty much. Like, I already spent $500 for this Xbox One, but yet something happened to my Kinect and my power went out for like a day or two. I have to probably go out and buy another console. That's $500 again. And you probably won't have that kind of money. You might not ever be able to get another Xbox for a while. And I think that's a really bad thing for Microsoft, and it's a bad look for them for those issues that they refused to kind of address. And when they actually came out with the truth of all those issues, I think it really kind of moved the Microsoft fans into another direction, and just kind of invested in just to get maybe a PS4, maybe a Wii U or something, or maybe just a different console for a change, or maybe just kind of sticking to the 360s for now until the price drops or something like that. So I think that Microsoft actually did okay, but I think those features really kind of set people apart from getting the Xbox One. Just when they first kind of presented it, on that Xbox reveal event that they actually showed on Spike back on TV a couple weeks ago. They really kind of did a good presentation for it, but those issues were not actually addressed, and it kind of really surprised people and kind of shocked everyone, in my opinion. And also it shocked me also to actually find out that such a system actually has so many issues, and it can really set the consumer from making just the main decision of which console do I want, whether I want to buy a Wii U, do I want to buy an Xbox One now, do I want to buy a PS4, maybe you want to buy one of these consoles for Christmas, or maybe try to pre-order, or maybe something like that. But when it comes down to picking a console between Xbox One and PS4, I think people are going to actually lean towards the PS4, because Microsoft really kind of messed up this year, in my opinion, and I didn't really expect them to actually mess up so badly and just kind of have these certain issues kind of be addressed at the last minute, and just all of a sudden just kind of come out of nowhere, and just as a little surprise and pretty much a shocker to the community and pretty much the public of all those loyal Microsoft fans. And I think they're going to actually probably lose most of those fans, not necessarily lose them permanently, but just kind of I think that most Microsoft fans will probably just kind of lean towards the PS4, not only because you can actually have your own rights to the game itself. You own those rights. It's your game. It's yours to play, and you could trade in whenever you want. You could sell it to a friend. You can even let your friend borrow it. You can lend it to your friend or family member or whatever. And I think that's a really good factor for Sony in regards. But going back to Microsoft, I think that was really their major flaw, and that just kind of really affected their performance overall. And I think that's probably why they're actually in dead last. I don't know the updates and who's actually winning. Not that I really care who's actually winning, but I actually liked all three consoles and everything like that, and I enjoy all the conferences. But I really think Microsoft could have did a little bit better, and if they didn't actually have those issues, I think the Xbox One could be a little bit better than the PS4. And I think it was capable, but I think when those issues came up, it kind of set down, it kind of lowered the bar a little bit for the system itself, and maybe for Microsoft's performance overall as well. But I really enjoyed Microsoft's conference, but I think they actually could have did a little bit better, and I'm not liking the issues for the system, and it's kind of really keeping me on the fence of whether or not I want to actually buy the system itself. But I'm actually going to actually jump into Nintendo, but I want to make sure that I don't actually go over the limit right quick, because I want to actually be able to talk about Nintendo right quick, because there's a couple things I actually want to say in regards. So I think I'll do another part for it, but I'll talk about it for a little bit and say additional things for it, but and then I'll probably I'll make another part 2 for this video, so I can talk about the rest of Nintendo, what I thought about Nintendo, and then Sony as the last conference about their performance at E3 and everything like that. But so Nintendo, I think Nintendo actually did okay. I think they did okay, and I think I expected a little bit better just a little bit better from them overall. As a big Nintendo fan, I was a little bit disappointed, but I wasn't actually. I was kind of happy that they were actually kind of at E3 and they were actually announcing new titles, because I think that it was actually a rumor months ago that they weren't actually coming to E3, and I actually made a video about Nintendo not coming to E3 and kind of talked about that, and I was kind of glad to actually see that they're actually going to make some new titles, and they actually have some things to show, and new titles to be announced and everything like that, and new titles that are actually in development and all that stuff. So that was pretty cool. But just regarding Nintendo, my thoughts regarding Nintendo and my reactions overall for their E3 performance, they did okay, but I was expecting a little bit more. But they didn't really kind of show any games that I think they could have showed a little bit more games. And like when I think of Nintendo, like I knew that some of those titles I kind of knew that were actually gonna come, but I was kind of expecting some of those titles to actually be like in a development. But before I get to that, I'm gonna actually split the video here, and I'll be right back for part 2 to actually talk about Nintendo and everything like that. So, because I don't want this video to be actually too long, so I'll be right back for part 2.